Welcome to the 126th episode of the Nerdom and Other Nonsense anime podcast. Today we are covering shows that aired during the 10th week of the winter 2020 season. As always, we include timestamps in the description of the YouTube video and podcast feed if you only want to hear about one or two specific shows, since we spoil fucking everything. My name is Kat, and like Yamaguchi from Haikyuu, I have a psychological reset point before every podcast that gets me in the zone. For me, it's making sure that my pets are wearing the loudest, jangliest collars possible, so Bcom has to do twice as much editing. Sometimes I put a tambourine around my dog's neck.
That's what it sounds like.
Yes. All right, now I'm hyped up. Also with me are Bcom and Leo.
Hey,
I'm Bcom.
I finally get to go into quarantine next week for a week, and then I gotta go back to work for a week, and then I go in quarantine again for a week, and then I go back to work. Ask me what the fuck that's about. I don't know. I don't understand this.
You're reducing your risk.
Yes,
I guess.
yes.
I have no idea. Who knows? But it's nice that you get to go into quarantine for a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you get
quarantine,
paid?
also known as Xbox Live.
My preferred life.
Do you get paid leave or like furlough?
Yeah.
Okay.
We get 2 weeks paid leave.
That's good.
Cool.
Yeah. A lot of people are just getting kicked out. Kind of like, hey, see you when
then
it's
even
over.
after that, supposedly the union's supposed to be able to pay a certain amount also. So
Okay.
we will see.
Yeah, that's good though. Yeah,
that's good
I'm
news.
just working from home. You know, having my coworkers learn my personal cell phone, and then they can call me all the time, and I'm like, shit, that wasn't a good idea. But yeah, it's been pretty fun. How about you, Bcom?
I've been doing an interview from home the other day, which was funny because I pulled out a shirt and tie and stuff for a webcam interview, which felt kind of weird. It's I guess I'm gonna get dressed up for this interview as I would go
involved?
in person. Yeah, I put pants on and everything.
Just in case he's stand up.
Yeah, I was like, well, you think he would be like, oh, stand up and walk around your room? I'd be like, just no, what fuck you. But I thought about that. I was like, I guess I should put pants on. I don't know, in case I need to stand up and run out of the room for some reason, which would never happen, but it could. So yeah, that was fun. So life goes on even in the webcam age. So yeah.
Yes, very nice.
Yeah.
I guess I got a funny little story. My buddy, so it's Sunday. I'm doing a little work. I was watching one of the shows for the podcast, and my buddy messaged me right in the middle of it. And he's like, "What kind of cameras do you have on your house?" I was like, "Well, I have that Ring stuff. But I don't like it because you have to pay a subscription fee for it to catalog the movements when they activate." And I was like, "That sucks."
Right.
He's like, "Man, I don't want to pay a subscription." I was like, "Well, let me go to Newegg and I'll see what I can find." And I pretty much found exactly what I need. It sends the updates to your phone. You don't have to pay a subscription. It's a 1 terabyte hard drive inside your house. The cameras seem nice. They have the night vision. It's actually still in 1080p. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it's needed. And then at one of my questions, because I was just messaging him on Discord, and I go, "Does it matter if they're indoor or outdoor cameras?" And he's like, "Well, they're going to be indoor, so it doesn't matter." And then without asking, he explains why he suddenly needed a security system in his house.
Oh.
He goes, "While I'm here at the house, I just caught my daughter trying to sneak in her boyfriend." And he goes,
So she's
"If
like,
she's
this
doing
way.
this
Oh,
while
no.
I'm home, she's definitely doing this when I'm at work."
Yeah, so he's like, I'm going to make sure that
So
I catch whoever the fuck.
He needed 2 cameras to watch both his doors in his house.
Oh, shit. She is like,
And
she's done.
I started promptly laughing so fucking hard, and I was like, wow, I haven't adulted this hard in a while too.
No, but that's what you got to do when they get to that teenage stage. You got to stay one step ahead of them. If you find out
and
they're sneaking people in, you're like, I'm going to videotape
They're
this.
out of school now. She's 16. Or she will be getting her driver's license soon. So he's like, she's old enough to I can leave her home alone, but then I got to worry about this shit also.
Yeah.
So I found a really good system that was actually on sale for $300. So
Okay. Well, that's not bad at all. I actually did do one thing. So me and my boyfriend, we've been doing a lot of Monon walks to keep busy. And one day we walked all the way down to like this sort of square where there's a lot of restaurants, and we got beer to go because a lot of the places are still offering beer to go. And so we're like, oh, this is great. We're waiting for our food to come out. Like, there's other people waiting in the square, so it's really not super great social distancing.
6 feet.
Although, I guess technically it is 6 feet away, but there's still a lot of people there. You know what I mean? And then we get our food, and as we're leaving, like, I see on social media, Carmel, like, police go to Bus Stop Square because too many people were congregating. It was at the corner of this and this. They should all be ashamed. Shame on those people. And I'm like, that was totally where we just were. I was like, oh, okay.
Well.
Yeah, it was worth it. The beer was good.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. But that's been basically my life. It's just staying inside and watching TV and walking, and that's about it. So.
Have you checked out Brooklyn Nine-Nine yet?
No. You're gonna ask me every week, and I know,
will ask you every week.
Eventually, I'll cave in because I have until the end of I have until May. That's amazing.
Wow.
I know.
You're gonna be off for a long time. Jesus.
I know.
Bcom, how about you?
Okay. So I finished finally rewatching, actually not rewatching, just watching for the first time, Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt.
Oh, dude, I watched that so long ago, I feel like.
It's so good.
When's it from?
When is it from, actually?
I watched it as soon as it actually was coming out. Forever ago.
Yeah,
2010?
Okay, yeah, I was going to say 2009, so yeah, it's right around there, yeah. It's like the ultimate trigger anime, I have to say. Like, well, maybe Kill la Kill is, but like, if you don't really need like a plot, then Panty and Stocking is like the ultimate Hiroyuki Imaishi trigger anime, because it is just balls to the wall insane the entire time. And the US dub makes it so much better because they are just constantly cursing up a storm. Like, it's about like these two angels who are not angelic at all. Like, one of them is called Panty Anarchy, and like literally only thing she wants to do while she's on Earth is fuck everything in sight. Like, she literally has a goal to like fuck 1,000 guys before she has to go back to heaven. And then her buddy Stocking is just constantly eating like desserts and shit and somehow not gaining weight. Though there is an episode about where she gains a lot of weight. And it's just they like fight like ghost demons together every episode. But like, yeah, the whole show is just kind of like an excuse to just do the most balls against the wall crazy things imaginable, and all this amazing like animation, and it's just like you're watching it, you're like, oh my god, this looks incredible.
Isn't there like a ton of poop jokes too?
Yes, there are definitely a ton of like toilet jokes for sure. Like, I think
it's been 10 years. I'm trying to remember right. And isn't there like some hot demon sisters or something like that? Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's like Scanty and whatever the other one's name is. I can't remember right now. But yeah, they're like basically the mirror image of the angels, and they fight each other pretty often. It's so good. It's really fun also because it's like in this like weird like Cartoon Network art style for most of the show, but then when the girls do like transformation scenes, it goes to this like hyper sexy like anime art style. This for like just like a couple seconds per episode where you see like that they're actually like super angelic and hot as they transform. I know, Kat, you would like Panty's weapons are her panties. She like slides them
there's
gently
something
off.
about their panties and the other girl's stockings, like when they transform, because like the stocking girl was like, you see her like rolling up her leg, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
This is interesting. I definitely need to at least watch an episode of this because this sounds interesting.
Oh, you would love this show.
I think you'd really like that, Kat.
Like once she takes her panties off, they turn into like a gun and she can fire them at people. Ooh. And it's, man, I'm like, I can't believe I didn't watch this earlier, basically. I would definitely rate this like above a 9 out of 10. Like, it's so good.
Well, sometimes the classics, you miss out on early in life. You know?
Yeah. You just like, or like you think like, oh, that's probably not for me or something for whatever reason. And then you like go back and watch it. It's like, no, this is like 100% up my alley. Like, I love this. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, should I talk about this other thing? I guess, like, yeah, I just noticed that, like, a couple days ago, IGN is making, like, an anime streaming service called Retrocrush, which is just gonna it's just focusing on older anime from, like, the 70s, 80s, and 90s, which is a kind of cool model. And it's just free to use app, like, on iOS and Android, and I think smart TVs and Rokus and stuff like that. And I think Amazon Fire TV too.
Well, I'll be downloading it then, because that sounds interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't have like the biggest catalog right now, but it has some cool old stuff like, Great Teacher Onizuka, Samurai Pizza Cats, Bubblegum Crisis, stuff like that. The Urusei Yatsura, like beautiful dreamer movies on there. And it's not like you can't find all these things like anywhere else, but a lot of them are on Amazon Prime, and so locked behind that. So if you want to just watch those things for free, this is like a way better way to get at those. So
yeah, it even says like a bunch of these are from multiple services, and now you can just go to one spot to watch all of them.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of these older things are just like scattered around. So to just have like a one-stop shop to go and watch a bunch of these things is a great thing to have. And a lot of it's like really good stuff. Like Go to Guys like Devil Lady is on there, which I haven't seen. I'm probably going to watch that now. I haven't like streamed anything on it yet, so I can't like report back how technically well it works, but put it on my phone. It had like a nice interface, and it was like really easy to like navigate, and it seemed pretty snappy, so I'm pretty excited about it. It's like a cool little thing that just popped up out of nowhere.
Okay, does it have, what is that anime that is similar to Great Teacher Onizuka? It's also kind of dirty.
It's also talking about like Golden Boy?
Yeah,
something?
Golden Boy.
I don't know if they have Golden Boy. I didn't see that as I was scrolling through. I know Crunchyroll has Golden Boy for sure.
Well, yeah, that would be a good addition because it kind of goes with the vintage theme.
Yeah, they have like a recently added section, so it looks like they plan to add more stuff over time. So hopefully it picks up a little bit and like they can justify adding more things to it.
Yeah, for sure. I hope so. Hope it does well.
Wow,
yeah.
I wish I had more time to watch some of this stuff, but I have this podcast, and there's a new season. So much to watch. And apparently I watched 2 seasons of My Teen Romantic Comedy.
Oh, no. I don't want to watch that.
Can somebody just give me a summary? I mean, that will get me through 2 seasons.
Okay, so here's the summary of My Teen Romantic Comedy SNAFU. The main guy is an incel.
Oh, no.
Who hates women because they've always rejected him. And he gets wrapped up in this club at school, which is like called the Service Club, which helps out people who have problems.
Have problems.
Yeah, they have like a problem they need to solve, like some kind of problem. So they come to this club and they're like, can you help us? We're stupid. We can't solve our own problems. And they're like, yes, we will help you. And so like one of the girls who's in this club is named Yukino. She's like very beautiful, stereotypical long black hair anime girl. She's kind of an asshole too. So like she plays off of this incel guy really well. But then the third member of the club is named Yui, and she's like really genki, really hot. I think was a good character aspect of hers. And she like kind of gets in between the two of them and like wants them all to be friends and wants them to like all like help each other out and help other people. And so that's like kind of the dynamic for the first season, as like they try to help people, and like the way that Hachiman, who's the main character, helps people like often rubs the other two the wrong way. Like he's kind of like Machiavelli in that he like schemes to make the outcome that he wants to happen come around, but it often ends up hurting him or other people in the process. But it does work. So they're always like upset because it's like, yeah, your methods work, but I don't like the way you're doing this because it's like you don't think about the way other people feel about it. And so over the course of 2 seasons, like they get closer and everything, but and they start to figure out like how each other work, and they start to fix each other's own problems, and it's interesting to watch at the very least.
Okay, I went back to look at the names on Panty and Stocking, and these are some insane names. Kat, get a hold of this. There's somebody called Garterbelt.
Okay.
Briefers.
Yes.
Chuck, who looks like Gur from Invader Zim. There's somebody named Corset, Crazy Cabby. Femitron.
Femitron.
Garterbelt is like he's like their pimp, essentially.
Yeah. Mr. Husband Petter and Mrs. Wife Petter.
Whoa. Mr. Husband Petter. Oh no! I have to watch this.
And Mrs. Wife Petter. Yeah, it's Queen Barbie. Jesus, these are shit ghost. I knew there was a shit monster.
Ghost was definitely a thing. Yeah.
Wow, these names are. Yeah, Knee Socks and Scanty were the demons. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it's Scanty and Knee Socks. That's it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, they were fun.
Okay, you want to talk about something that's not as fun?
Sure. Yeah, this wasn't like the greatest episode of Chihayafuru 3.
Well, the first half was a literal cut and paste Valentine's Day episode.
Yeah, like I can see what they're trying to do, but like this is like you said, like as it starts out, like a very generic Valentine's Day, like let's make chocolates thing. Like,
oh look, some of the girls can't cook. Oh look, one of the girls is very good at cooking. It's just like, what the fuck, man? This is
like, I've seen this in every anime ever. Oh, great. With Taichi having lost her Arata, Chihaya is feeling like Taichi's like moving farther and farther away from her, and she can barely talk to him. And Kana senses that the mood of the club needs a boost, so they're all like, oh, Valentine's Day is coming up, let's make chocolates for the club and the guys in the club. And so, like Leo was saying, like Chihaya and Kana are totally inept. They don't know how to make a fucking chocolate. But Hanano, seasoned pro, has been making them since second grade. And she's like, oh, like we're gonna make chocolate waffles, cocoa marshmallows, and chocolate cookies that like use flour and cocoa because it's easier to do than like tempering real chocolate and like all the stuff that entails. You have to get that right, and I don't know. They don't know how to do it. So
you can just take like a bag of chocolate chips and like if you're careful, make them gooey enough in the microwave.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you just gotta.
Then you may not be able to form it how you want, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to make a form, I don't know, but I mean, I made chocolate covered strawberries that way, and that worked perfectly fine.
Ooh, that sounds good, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you can make
simple.
a decent amount of chocolate stuff without too much trouble.
You just gotta do like 20 seconds stir, 20 seconds stir, 20 seconds stir. It's a little tedious, but that's the only way you can get it done.
Well, you can also just put it on low heat, like super low heat.
Yeah, just mix it around.
Yeah.
Kat, you're making it too difficult. Who here even knows how to dial back their microwave?
I mean, no, you can easily make your make it low heat.
It depends on the microwave because you figure it out. Yeah, you figure it out, and then you go to a different microwave, and you're like, everything's different.
That is true. That's true. You'll be looking at someone else's microwave like, what the fuck is this? How does this work?
Yeah, I have no doubt that you can use your microwave, and I can use my microwave, but if we were to switch, we'd go, shit.
That's true. That's true.
There's like this funny montage of them making chocolate, and it's like set to their like high school anthem, which I thought was goofy. But yeah, they were like, Hanano's wondering what types of chocolates Taichi would like, and she asked Chihaya, and she's just like, well, he's gotten so many fucking chocolates over the years, he'd probably prefer something like fermented squid guts instead, which is like, yikes. I can't even imagine what those would taste like.
That is odd.
Chihaya gets like really emotional thinking about how much fun she's having doing all this stuff together when Taichi is like off on his own and like he's clearly in pain for some reason and she just can't get through to him. She starts like tearing up over it. On the way home, Kana notices that Hanano bought these fancy chocolates like couverture or whatever because they were marketed as having like 100% success rate at like getting your feelings across to the boy you like. Which is bullshit. There's nothing has 100% success rate. But yeah, Kana tells Hanano that her feelings are already coming through loud and clear because of like the way she's been trying so hard at Karata, and if she just wants Taichi to know how she feels, like she can just let him know at any time. She's already sort of let him know, but like Kana's just saying like be more confident in yourself, like you can do this, basically. On the day, like, Hanano has trouble getting Taichi on his own because he's, like, swarmed by girls giving him chocolate. Until one point when she's, like, walking on a second floor hallway and she sees him down below in, like, the courtyard. And she opens the window and yells to him and, like, throws what we think is the bag of chocolate. But it seems really heavy. And he opens it up and it's just a big fucking jar of squid guts. she took Chihaya's advice. And Taichi's like, what the fuck is this? But yeah, she yells out the window like, I like you, which is pretty ballsy of her. But she also tells him like, and since I know who you like, I want you to confess to that person as well. Like, she just wants this to be done with. Like, she knows that like he has to do this for the club to move on as a whole. He can't just keep stalling. He has to like move forward. Oh, and then there's a funny joke where they all meet up to eat chocolates at club, but Chihaya's dad thought the chocolates were for him, so he ate all of them and just like left a note inside the box like, thank you. Can you imagine if your dad did that? Like, oh my god, after you like spent so much time. That would suck. So yeah, it's March at this point, and then it's time for like seniors to graduate, and they show us some like people from rival schools graduating, like at Fujisaki. Makoto graduates and he's always had a crush on Rion, so he basically like drops some heavy hints like, I hope you'll do some tournaments in Tokyo where I'm going to college, wink wink, like maybe you should come to Tokyo, please come to Tokyo. And then at Hokuo the seniors graduate and they basically tell Retrocrush like, your passion for the game is unmatched by anyone here or in this like whole prefecture. And so you're going to be a great president for this club. And he just starts bawling uncontrollably to the point where they think he might need, like, medical help. Yeah, so Tsutomu has gotten his grades back for final exams. He finds out he's, like, 3rd rank overall, and he's 2nd in science. As usual, still behind Taichi. And Chihaya freaks out because they're told that their college entry exams are coming up and that they're not just going to test their exam knowledge, but apparently everything they've learned in their lives, which is like, how the fuck do you study for that? That's like a scary thing for a teacher to say. And so as Chihaya worries about this, he tells her, well, it might be impossible to balance studying and karate practice then. Which she is like a gentle hint that he's like worried about that, or that he's worried about playing karate. And Chihaya kind of just like brushes it off and says like, they can worry about that when when they're 3rd years, when they're full 3rd years. And she runs off to like buy a book. And then like Hiroshi, who goes to the same karate society as Taichi, like shows up and drags him off to a bar, even though he's underage, and just drinks a bunch of beer in front of him. And says, oh, it's fine for kids to go to bars, don't worry. And Hiroshi asks Taichi how the match with Arata went, and like Taichi compares it to what they were told about college entrance exams, and that like Arata felt like someone who's been preparing for the match like his entire life, and he's just enjoying it because he's ready and he knows he's ready, and Taichi just still feels like he's way behind. And as Taichi goes to leave later, Hiroshi admits that like Chihaya actually asked him to flag down Taichi and talk to him. Like, so Chihaya kind of like set up that whole situation. And Taichi's like, oh, did she just want to hear about fucking Arata through me? And Hiroshi's like, no, you're dumb if that's what you think she's focused on. Hinting that she's focused on Taichi and like wants to know that he's okay, basically. Back at school, Taichi gives Kanano a gift in return for the squid guts. And he also tells her that he's going to confess to Chihaya. But then like Kanano suddenly starts like yelling at him like, just wait 2 weeks, don't confess right now. And it turns out that's because Chihaya and the others have like secretly organized a karate tournament with a bunch of friends and rival players that is going to take place on Taichi's birthday. It's going to be called like the Taichi Cup. They made like t-shirts and everything. It's ridiculous. And yeah, Chihaya's like kind of just hell-bent on making him happy, and she thinks this is the way that's going to happen, basically. What were you going to say, Leo?
I just said pink polka dot shirts.
Oh, yeah, pink polka dot. Yeah. They were pretty nerdy shirts. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Chihaya is reading this whole Taichi situation correctly. I don't know if this karate tournament that's like out of nowhere is going to make him happy. I think she should have probably just actually had a real talk with him. But we'll find out how that plays out next episode. I will say, next episode, very interesting episode.
Oh, yeah.
Look forward to that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's a very climactic episode.
Okay, well, I will try to look forward to it.
Indeed.
Okay. All right, so next up, keep your hands off Eizouken. So in this one, you see Tsubame kind of like she knows this band and she's having them make a song or like a series of songs for the video, like the video that they're doing for the city. And Sayaka is like, hey, I noticed your tan line on your sandal. Are you having issues with that? Because, modeling, that's not attractive. And Tsubame's like, no, it's fine. I'm not doing any more modeling shoots, so it doesn't matter anyway. And Sayaka kind of gets on her like, listen, one of the main reasons we're making money and all of that is because you're famous.
We need your popularity.
Yeah, you can't stop being famous. I think which does still kind of bother Tsubame because she doesn't want people to just like their stuff just because she is her. She is who she is.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, anything to promote yourself, right? So it becomes sort of a give and take there. It will be interesting to see if something ends up happening eventually with that, because I could see it becoming a conflict eventually if the show really wanted it to.
Yeah.
So then the student council comes to visit them, and they're like, listen, the school has a big problem with the money that you're making on the side with this town council or whatever. So they go into this meeting with the school. The school is basically like, once you start making money off this, it's not educational anymore. You can't have it both ways. And Sayaka kind of, it's an interesting conversation that they have, because Sayaka's like, it doesn't make sense to say that making money isn't educational for students. That's literally the way the world works.
She pretty much knows this whole thing is bullshit. And that's how she's kind of treating it.
The argument from the teachers kind of felt flimsy to me, because it was like, people in the community feel uncomfortable about high school students making money. And I was just like, okay, is that your best argument?
Where did you get this statistic?
Yeah, I thought they would make an argument like, you need to focus on your studies while you're in school, and if you're off working for money, that can distract you from your studies. But they didn't discuss that at all, and I was just like, this isn't a very good argument. Kanamori, who they start calling Kana Money, the student council, has a good point here, I feel.
I also want to say that black girl in the student council is just striking JoJo poses.
Oh yeah, she's just like, I'm a badass. Look at me.
I was like, what is going on? I think she does it later on in the episode too.
Yeah, she's just like, I don't give a fuck what you think. I like her a lot. It's fun. But yeah, no, I mean, I can see it from the school's point of view, because it probably does look bad, and parents complaining is really hard to deal with. I could see them being like, let's not even mess with it. Let's just get rid of the problem, because they think it's probably easier than dealing with the parents to go ahead and just be like, you can't make money, And I think that's why Sayaka is so pissed at them, and it's like, you're supposed to be standing up for us, because they do sort of just roll over and are like, well, it's too difficult. We don't want to deal with it, So anyway, basically the school just decides, well, you can't accept money for whatever you do. You can do it, but you can't accept money for it.
Well,
I liked when
the thing is,
go ahead.
She's not exactly doing it for a profit. She's just doing it for the studio.
Well, but the reasoning
there's
behind
a great argument right there. It's
the reasoning behind her doing it is not, I want to make money. But you can't deny that that's not part of what's going on there. She wants that recognition for what they've done. She's interested in getting that profit. That's totally understandable, but it's not. But it is part. It's part of what's going on in her head about it, and I understand that. I don't know. I just think that child actors start so young. There's plenty of examples of kids in our society making money. You can't really make those sort of, boundaries and distinctions anymore.
Because child actors always turn out so well.
Well, I mean, yeah. But maybe if you're deciding yourself, I'm going to be in this, it's better. Who knows?
Yeah, it'd probably be better. Yeah.
So as this episode goes on, Midori starts to try to figure out what she wants the storyboard to be about. I liked the quote where she goes, once you direct your third production, you start to understand what people want. And I'm like, I think you're still learning.
dressed as Miyazaki.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great moment. And I was reading Zach Birchie's like summary of this episode on Anime News Network, and he made a fantastic point in that for a while now he's been thinking that these three characters are supposed to represent the three founders of Studio Ghibli.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, Midori as Hayao Miyazaki, which they make obvious with like the beard and the outfit in this episode. But then like Tsubame would be like Isao Takahata, and Kanamori would be Toshio Suzuki, the producer. Like, so that made so many things click for me about the show. I felt like I was like, that makes so much sense.
I wish I would have known that from the beginning, because I think I would have enjoyed this show a lot more.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I felt like they only really made it obvious at this point, though. But, like, I think it was a nod to the audience when they put that beard on her to be like, hey, we're kind of doing this, just so you know, which is cool.
I'm going to look more into that, because that's a really interesting theory. I like that a lot.
It's a cool theory. I liked it a lot as well.
Yeah. But, yeah, so Midori comes up with, and kind of her name is similar to, in a way, Midori Miyazaki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. Mm-hmm. Okay, but she comes up with this idea that an enemy prisoner of war, alien, comes to understand human kindness and like changes sides, and there's a big action scene. And then Sayaka starts questioning, like, but why? But this? But like, what about these details? And she can't come up with, answers. She does need to learn to flesh out her ideas more.
Yeah.
Like, everything has to have an answer. But I understand it being overwhelming, because it's kind of like Lord of the Rings, there's always a small detail that could be filled in, but do you need to fill it in,
Yeah, that's the thing. You could get lost in the details, and you have to decide which ones matter and which ones don't.
Yeah, exactly, because Lord of the Rings is like an example of going way overboard. Like, it has its own language, But do you really need that for everything,
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't know. Midori, there's like this image of Midori basically melting herself into hiding from all those questions.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah, that was cute. There's like a scene where Domeki is like, "Oh, it's my first time I've ever napped in my life," and I thought that was really weird. I was like, "What?"
Well, so did they. They were like, "Really?"
Like, how? How have you done this?
It's this bizarre. They meet up on the weekend, all four of them. So it's kind of like Domeki has started to be in the group. They meet up on bikes to hunt sounds for their show. Midori tries to come, but she really isn't done with the storyboard. And Sayaka's like, "Listen, bitch, you need to fucking get this done."
Yeah.
But she kind of sneaks in by being like, "No, I'm scenario hunting. I'm trying to get ideas." They get to this abandoned water energy generator across from the school, and they're like, "Oh, this is where the clock comes from." And it's interesting. Midori starts imagining this whole other scene with like thieves and all this stuff, and Sayaka's like, "No, focus on this. Focus."
Yeah.
Which I enjoyed that, because it really is. It's Sayaka all the way throughout this entire show, being like, "Listen, you guys need to focus on this." Sayaka's amazing. Period.
Yeah. You can't just keep coming up with like new stories like every 5 minutes. Like, you have to focus on one and stick with it and make it better.
Which one is Sayaka supposed to represent?
I guess the producer, so Toshio Suzuki from the original Studio Ghibli. Yeah.
I'm gonna remember that, because Sayaka's my girl. So I'm like, yeah. Okay, so she decides that this building in her mock-up will be the military base. And then they have this weird scene where there's like a clock that they make, and it has bells on it. And they do this animation of the bells ringing and the clock ticking and her by the side of the river. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, she's like they're trying to show how she is editing the sound waveforms that she's like collecting, but I didn't think it came across very well. And they also repeated it like 8 times, and I was like, okay, what are you doing?
Much, because I was sitting there watching like, is there something wrong with my video? What is happening?
Same. I was like, why are they doing this so many times?
And honestly, I felt like it was a way for them to save money, because they played that animation 8 times. back to back, and I was just like,
endless 8.
oh, I know. I was like, I'm done with this.
No, it was weird. Yeah, because like even I, who edit sound waveforms for the podcast, like every couple weeks or whatever, like I was just like, I don't think they're really getting across what they're trying to get across here. Like, I don't think people who don't like edit stuff are gonna like kind of understand exactly what they're trying to do.
Yeah, it was weird. So the student council president comes by while they're doing all this and talks with Sayaka, and Sayaka basically is like, yeah, we got around that issue.
She's not the president, she's the secretary.
Oh, yes.
They
she's
even
the
make
secretary. They even make the distinction
in the fucking show.
They do. You're right. They do. But and basically Sayaka explains how they're going to collect the money individually as creators, not as a club, to avoid the whole issue, because the school can't have an issue with that legally. And then basically she points out to Sayaka that the school is like protects them but imposes restrictions to compensate for that, and if she's not careful, the school won't be able to protect them anymore. But I was kind of like, but are you threatening them? Because like, what's gonna happen to them? Like, they'll be all right.
I don't know.
No one in a mafia outfit is coming for these girls, okay?
Yeah, like, what's the worst that can happen?
It's not so dire. So yeah, I don't know what that was really, but she does have, I guess, a little bit of a point. I don't know.
Were they going to get expelled from the school? Like, I guess that's the only thing that could really happen to them. I don't know. But, yeah, I liked the scenes, when they were on their bikes, like, on the way to that clock tower. Like, there's the one Akira reference where, like, Kanamori skids to a stop. That was pretty cool. And then, I really liked that first-person shot that was, like, I guess it was from, like, underneath Midori's, like, chin, basically, of, like, the 4 girls, like, in first person, like, biking downhill. I was like, oh, this is really cool looking. So I just like that they throw, like, those crazy little shots in the middle of the show to, like, keep things interesting. Because, like, for the most part, I felt like this was, like, a little bit of a down episode. It was just like, we're going to collect some sounds, we're going to loop some animation. We're going to argue with the student council again. And I was like, okay, where are we going with all this?
I did find this episode rather boring most of the time. I found it kind of hard to keep paying attention.
Yeah. It was a lot. Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't feel like the plot like really progressed all that much.
I liked
really,
the idea that they're having this issue and that Sayaka is so outspoken about, no, you shouldn't be able to tell us that we can't make money. I liked that.
That was pretty cool.
I guess, like, I understand. Yeah, no, I guess I understand the whole. I mean, there wasn't a lot that happened, but I like the process of them planning the show and that kind of thing. And you really got a lot of that this episode. So I personally enjoyed this episode quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, Sayaka is your favorite character too, so and she got to be pretty cool this episode.
Yeah, she definitely did.
That's weird. I don't feel like I favor any of the 3.
I guess Tsubame would be my favorite, probably.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I mean,
but Sayaka is like close second. I don't know.
I understand why the show's entertaining, but it's not doing a good job of like grabbing me. I don't know. I really don't know why. I feel like this is something I should have a lot of interest in, and I don't really understand why I don't. It's just it perplexes me. It actually bothers me a little bit. I'm just like, why do I not care about this show as much as everybody else? And it's just like frustrating. I'm like, I don't get it. I should.
Yeah, I think there's a solid group of people like that who are just like, I think this show's okay, but I don't think it's like amazing like other people think. I don't know. It just depends what you're looking for, I guess. All right, let's move on because I want to figure out what the fuck happened and It Invaded.
Good luck.
Episode 10, which is part 2 of Inside Outed. All right, so let's get into this. So Narihisago is able to discover that sometimes Kiki Asukai, who you may remember as Kairu from the Idwells, her dreams they can depict premonitions of future events. So, like, he asks her, like, oh, why did these fireworks show up? They were in the real world yesterday, but they were in your dream a week ago. And she explains, like, yeah, like, serial killers come into my dreams, and sometimes, like, their imaginations of the future manifest. in like her mind or whatever, and she broadcasts them. And so these are, like, so Narihisago considers the idea that the idwell within this idwell might actually be his reality, and like everything up to that point that he has experienced was an extended dream of Kiki Asakai's.
Well, okay, I think that he wants that to be the case, but I think he knows deep down that it's not.
Yeah, and he wants it because like his family's here, he's been able to protect them so far. And he only has like a few more serial killers to take care of, like
a
to
few
protect,
more,
like,
just
Kiki
a few
and his family.
guys, just a few more people to kill. Yeah, no, that part of the show really fucked me up this episode, because he'd just be like, "Oh yeah, I killed 2 more people last week. Like, you feeling any better? Your dreams any nicer?" And I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. It's so ridiculous.
He's over the edge, man. Like you can't, even if it's just you making people commit suicide with psychology, you cannot do that over and over and be so casual about it unless something inside you breaks just a little bit. Like he's pretty fucked up.
Yeah. And so like he's also like not letting it on, like with he's not letting Momoki like know what he's doing. Like he's being very suspicious. They end up meeting up at the hospital to visit Kiki, and when they go into her hospital room, there's this old guy standing next to her bed who has like a fucking like cognitive like device helmet on her head. And he like takes it off and goes to leave, and like Momoki like is like, "Hey dude, what the fuck is your name? Who are you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm Nishio Shirakoma," which was that the name of the guy who created the whole Mizu Haname system?
Yeah, so like, it's totally him. That's this guy, right? He's creating the serial killers. It's totally him.
Probably, yeah.
Like,
I mean, he's
that
very
was my
suspicious.
first thought. But that is such a... Sometimes the show is too obvious.
But you think he's John Walker,
or
just the creator of this system?
I think he's John Walker. I think the whole point of creating the system is like an extension of the serial killer thing. Because like... Sometimes, just like, you know how in the show, like, it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna shoot this bullet through this guy's hole in his head." Like, the show is sometimes a little too obvious about things, where it'll be like, "It's right there in the open, so I'm gonna take it." And I think this guy has to be John Walker. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done such an obvious, like, "Oh, it's a hint. He was in her room." How much you bet they're gonna flash back on that scene in an episode or two?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And, like, the thing is, like, if they had just done it as, like, if they'd done it more vaguely, like, it would have been better, like, for a mystery. But, like, since they made it, like you said, like, so blatantly obvious, it's like, I don't know about this.
Exactly.
Come on, guys. Try a little harder here. Yeah, so Narihisago tells Kiki that he's eliminated these serial killers, like the tongue terror, the thigh severer, the arm twister. And he interrogated all of them about John Walker, but he didn't learn anything. And he basically, the way he killed them is he talked each of them into killing themselves with their own method, like twisting their own arm off or severing their own thigh or whatever, tearing their own tongue out. Yikes, that would hurt. Kiki warns Narihisago that even if he kills John Walker, she has a strong feeling that she's going to disintegrate and blend with the world and become one. And like, once she's done that, the world will be warped forever by her becoming one with it. And she doesn't want to die like this. So she asks Narihisago, like, mercifully, please kill me while I'm still human. And he refuses, saying, like, I'm a police officer. The best I can do is kill these serial killers that are tormenting you.
I won't kill you, but I'll kill all these other people.
Yeah, exactly. You know, to make sense.
It doesn't make any fucking sense. It's so
by his own sense of justice, it does, I guess. I don't know, yeah. A month later, Momoki calls Narihisago to notify him that Kiki has gone missing. And, like, the 13 nurses who were on her floor who had tried to come help her all, like, fell into comas at the same time. And, like, several of them report that they shared the same dream. So clearly this all has to do with her disappearance. And Momoki also found out that Shirakoma dude was researching the invasion of the unconscious through dreams. So they suspect he might have had something to do with it.
Not surprising.
Okay, so then Narihisago, as they're like driving around, like him and Momoki, spots like the perforator serial killer out and about and realizes he's forgotten about this guy. He's got to kill him too.
Oh, okay.
He goes after him, but he gets held up by Hondo Machi. Hey, welcome back to the show, Hondo Machi. Where have you been all this time?
You've been gone for a couple episodes.
So this is like the Hondo Machi we know. It's not like from this fake world or whatever. She has been in the Idwell within an Idwell, but for her, she's only been in there for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Narihisago's been there for fucking months. What the fuck?
There, like they say later in the episode, for over a year, basically.
Oh, like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, what is up with that time difference, especially knowing that in the real world, we know Kaharu went in fucking first.
Yeah.
Well, I think it has something to do with like the Idwell that he's inside, which they reveal at the end of this episode. Like, so yeah, as they're talking, Hondo Machi basically like brings him back to reality. Like, hey, like this is not reality for you. Reality is where your wife and daughter are gone. You're in an Idwell within an Idwell, and like the world begins to fall apart.
I think it's interesting that he fights it at first. He's like, "That's not true, nuh-uh,"
Yeah.
And then he like thinks about it a second and is like, "Oh, I knew." And then he calls his wife. That was
When he calls his wife and you start seeing all the like those memories and flashbacks, it touched me a little bit. I started feeling pretty fucking sad for the guy.
I know. You see him like, oh, his kids died, but like, oh, he's still got his wife and he's trying to make it work the best he can.
Comes home and she's in the tub with slit wrists, and he's thinking about when he married her and all this shit. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I can easily put myself in his shoes, and it's fucking with me a little bit.
Oh, I know. I was like, no. And he like went all to that trouble of she's not eating. So he went and got like this fancy cake from the shop, and he has it. And then she's just in the tub. And I'm like, no.
Come on, guys.
God.
Let's move on. I don't want to revisit this.
Well, the last thing I'll say about
show
that.
points for really getting to you with that.
Yeah.
I'll give it points for his voice acting during that scene, because like the way his like voice like subtly like starts to shake as he's like getting really emotionally overwhelmed by all this.
Yeah, he's like, "Where were you? Where were you? Because you didn't stay." And oh man,
yeah,
it was
God,
good. It was good.
And so like he tells his wife and daughter that in reality they're both gone, like they didn't stay, and that he basically knows this world is going to fall apart before he sees them again. Now, what I don't know for sure is if the world is falling apart because of what Kiki Asakai said about how she's going to become one with the world and it's going to like change and warp, or if it's falling apart because of what Hondo Machi says about how the contradiction of these two being together in the Idwell inside the Idwell is tearing the world apart. So I'm like, I don't know which one of those things or both of them is happening, but
yeah, it's something. Something's going on.
Yeah. So Narihisago tells Hondo Machi that like they discovered in the reality that Momoki might be John Walker, and she's like, I don't believe that. And Narihisago basically agrees and decides like, well, we have to find the real culprit while we're still inside here. But that just then the 10 minutes have passed for like Anaido or Fukuta, who's like
the 10 minutes / year and a half.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
very Inception. Yeah. And so he pulls out Narihisago, who's like, "Oh, take this investigation book," like, and leaves it with Hondo Machi. So he's going to leave it up to her to try and figure out who John Walker is.
Yeah.
And so then it gets even more interesting because, like, when Sakaido, like, gets back Narihisago, he sees Anaido there, who's just been like counting grains of sand because he's been busy. Like, he's had nothing to fucking do. I guess.
Man. Can I blow both your minds real quick? Because since you brought up you really liked his Narihisaga's voice acting.
Yeah.
He also did the voice for the giraffe from Starlight.
Oh no, that really fun.
Yeah. Here you go, Kat. This one's for you. He was Sparkle Pants from Sirius the Jaeger.
Fantastic. These are all fantastic roles.
He's got a bunch of good. He's also Ogata from like Golden Kamui. So like he's got good.
So we know him
good
well.
Stuff in here.
We know him
Yeah,
well.
we know him very well.
Okay, so it turns out that Anaido, like when they both woke up in this world, remember they had like the tan lines on their wrists, like where they thought there was like a watch and that watch got stolen. So that's why they left Kairu's body. Turns out, like, if you remember, Anaido woke up like 10 minutes before Sakaido woke up. And in that time, apparently he took off these pieces of cloth that were tying them to Kairu, which were supposed to be a sign to stay near Kairu, and hid them like in his pocket. And Sakaido discovers this, and he's like, "Why'd you do this?" and all this stuff. And then Anaido's like, "Well, yeah. Also, while you were in there, I checked out that person in the quicksand who we saw that was dead, and he had this picture on him, and it's a picture of Narihisago and his family." And this is where things get even weirder because, like, apparently Anaido does not have the part of his brain that is able, like, that keeps him from losing his memories of the reality when he enters Idwells.
Okay.
So he had all of his memories when he came down here, and so the Kuro people are confused because, like the message to stay near Kairu that Anaido hid was the same as in that lightning Idwell, which was Narihisago's own Idwell. And so Anaido knew all along what this Idwell really was. It was Narihisago's mind. But they just...
Fucking insanity, dude.
Yeah, and this part is my favorite, because they explained that, like, okay, when you remember you remember yourself in your own Idwell, in order to protect your unconscious, like, from the conscious mind, the Idwell starts a storm. And so that's why it looks like a desert, because it kicked up a storm to hide, like, the lightning Idwell.
Oh,
and
okay.
When Narihisago, when this breaks down, when he realizes he's, like, inside his own mind, they're like, he's falling into dogma.
Oh,
and I'm like,
I
what does that mean? What does this mean? And, like, right before it cuts the credits, Narihisago just says, John Walker. And that cuts. I was just like, what the fuck?
I'm surprised you're able to write that down that well, because...
What if that's how he makes serial killers? He puts them in their own brain with the help of her and, like, makes them see what they are inside, and then they become serial killers.
That might be it, and, like, seeing their inner desires drives them crazy, or, like, sets them loose. I don't know. Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know what falling into dogma means either. Like,
I think it's a psychological term. We could probably look it up.
I don't know. Like, well, dogma isn't, like, necessarily psychological. It's like dogma is like religious doctrine.
It's a good movie.
It is a great movie.
There's other like. But I think
I don't even have to ask. Kat's never seen Dogma, has she?
No, but there's other like context of it. I know what Dogma is too, but I think that in this essence, there may be like a psychological thing they're referring to. Because I think I remember them talking about like the idea that if you were to look into yourself, it would be like you would fall into dogma. And so I think it may be a more like technical term than we think. I'm not sure.
And yeah, there was also the key that like they couldn't extract him because he was out of sync with like the machines or whatever. So he's kind of lost in there. He's gonna have to find himself somehow, I guess. I don't know how, but he'll figure it out, I guess.
I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting for sure. I found this episode a little bit confusing, but very fascinating. Like, they've done a good job of continuing to be like, oh, I'm interested. I just hope they can stick the landing.
Yeah, now that's the only thing that has me worried. But I feel like they've wrapped up a lot of, like, plot points with his family and stuff in this episode by doing this Idwell within an Idwell arc.
This will make sense to you guys. Dogma. If you refer to a belief or system of beliefs as a dogma, you disapprove of it because people are expected to accept that it is true without questioning it.
Oh, so he's starting to question his own reality, basically.
Pretty much.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's what that line. Yeah. I was looking at variable definitions, and I saw this one. I was like, okay, that sentence now makes more sense.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. You know what else makes sense? Dorohedoro.
This episode was weird as fuck, and you guys know it. There were several times I was watching this episode. My boyfriend was making dinner, and he'd look over at me and go, I really could make a YouTube channel of just your reactions to things when you're watching. Because they do something in this fucking trippy show, and I would be like, fuck no, and I'd like look at it with a weird face.
Yeah, this episode's pretty chaotic. Like, I
It's
liked
weird.
it a lot.
Oh,
Okay, question for you. If, in order to get married, because this seems like a magical marriage is what we've learned this episode.
yeah. So we later on we finally figure out what signing a contract means.
Yes.
So, yeah.
If to get married, you had to have someone open up your chest and take out a piece of paper from your chest and have someone else sign it and then put
It's
it back
more like
in your
a
fucking
piece of flesh.
chest. It kind of. Would you get married ever? And they could control you. You could control them, but they could control you. Would you get married?
That's only if it's non-consensual.
Oh, okay.
If it's consensual, then you can't control each other.
Okay, but still, would you get married if it involved a surgery where you'd have to recover for a month after?
No, because divorces would get real messy at that point.
Why do you say recover from like months later? Because recovery time in this is instantaneous.
Well, but like if it was real life, if someone opened up your chest, it's not going to be like in this. But
Sounds
like, what
a
if that
cult
was?
you started, Kat?
It does sound like a cult. Like it's not real marriage if they didn't open up your chest and you didn't sign like their internal flesh paper.
Yeah, I definitely would not do that. That's dumb. That's
All right,
super
episode
dumb.
10, and I really like the titles of this one: Lonely Kaimon and Before Nightmare and Manju Terror. This has Bcom. I saw it in your notes. This has an amazing start to this episode.
It does.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like Nikaido is so fucking awesome with her like demon mask. It looks like Jason's mask. Yeah,
It does a lot. The mushroom monster turns Doc into like a mushroom, and then like Johnson runs in and like actually manages to do damage to the mushroom monster. Like rips off an arm. He's like gnawing on it. But then they all have to eventually run upstairs and they barricade themselves up there. So like basically everybody upstairs that is like both those doctors, 13, Johnson, and Nikaido. But apparently Nikaido in her past received a special mask from Asu, that devil. And apparently this mask can enhance people's magical abilities. And she like puts it on and like she just goes all melee on the fucking mushroom monster. So she didn't like use her magic, not that we're aware of. But then interestingly, it's really funny because they're like, do you think it's dead now after she's like literally cut it in half by kicking it? And that Doc's like, you never know in situations like this. And I was like, thank you. you always be on edge. But then like its blood is like pooling everywhere, and suddenly it turns into a door and like drops them all down to En's mansion right at his feet. And I was like, that was fucking awesome.
yeah, that was really cool too. Like that whole opening was great. Like it's just so chaotic.
Yeah. And then it shows like Kaiman just chilling on a park bench with the guy from the meat shop that turns people into meat pies. They suddenly notice that the devils, 3 of them like leave that floating house, and like he comments, he's like, well, that's really strange. I don't think they're really supposed to leave. And then we go back to En, and he's like, he's going to start questioning Nikaido. And he's like, all right, my first question I need to ask you is, and then that's when like the devil named Chidaruma comes flying in through the window, and En's like, what the fuck are you doing here? Holy shit. And like Chidaruma, whatever, asked En why he didn't tell him about having the sorcerer who can control time. And that's when En's like, what? You can control time? Like that was the question he was getting ready to ask, I'm pretty sure. And then like apparently the devils are all about this because they just immediately jump to all of them back in the floating house. They have like Nikaido tied up and gagged, and apparently the men and women have to separate and actually have to go like cleanse themselves, which is like clean themselves and whatever. And Nikaido gets interested in Noi, which isn't, it's really nothing. It's just like she goes ahead and heals her back and then like holds her down where like Ibisu like scrubs her down.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
Yeah. So this is the crazy part. So they finally get to exchange the contracts, and what happens is the devils have like a cabinet handle, and they just stick it to your chest, and they just open your chest like a fucking door.
It's weird as fuck. I was like, what's happening? Oh, they're doing what?
Yeah, and then they basically reach inside and like pull out like a literal sheet of your flesh. And then your other partner signs their name. They do that also. And like in this case, they force Nikaido to sign her name onto ends.
Mm-hmm.
And then they put them back in their chest. And then they are companions.
Partner.
I love that, like, just before this scene, like, Shin was, like, the only one to be like, I don't know if this whole partner thing with Nikaido was consensual, and like, he's, like, the only one to, like, raise, like, any kind of concern, but he got over it pretty quickly.
Well, there's also that demon, that the devil that's looking on Asu, who seems to have some kind of connection with Nikaido. He's, like, looking on, and, like, it just feels like he's, like, sad about it.
True, yeah.
Oh, but then also Ibisu and Fujita missed their contracts because she ate that guy, got turned into a meat pie, and it fucked up her stomach, and she was in the bathroom the whole time.
Oh, I know. She's like, oh, my tummy hurts. And I'm like, well, that's what happens when you eat people.
Yeah. Kaiman has another crazy dream, and in the dream, he, like, opens a door and finds a corpse, which you can't see the face, but looks a lot like that stupid guy's name. It's in here somewhere. Whatever.
Oh, Risu or
Risu,
something?
thank you.
Yeah.
And then, like, a phone rings and he answers it, but it's just, like, garbled static. And then suddenly, like, it's like the corpse is alive and it's starting to turn around the door and he can't breathe. So, he suddenly just wakes up from his dream.
Mm-hmm.
And then to basically, like, kind of clear his head, and I guess he also visits this park every night. Tamba follows him, his boss, basically, at the meat pie shop. And Tamba tells him, he's like, I'll help you out, when we have time and whatnot. And I actually know somebody with the cross eyes. So they take him to, they call it the prison. It's literally a prison. To meet a guy named Shimizu, who is going to be executed that day. Apparently his last meal was to have the meat pies because he loved that shop so much. So they brought him some. And then, like, Kaiman, like, bites his head off and they're, like, freaking out, like, trying to pull him off his head, which is pretty funny. And then you, like, see the guy, he, like, looks up at him and he's like, what? Like, he's like, Risu, you're supposed to be dead. What are you doing in here? And then, like, Risu's like, you're not the one. So when he gets pulled out and he asks him what he says, the ghost said, I'm not the one. And Kaiman's like, what do you mean the ghost? But then, like, before he can ask, like, this rope drops down around the guy's neck and, like, pulls him up into, like, a demon's mouth. And, like, Kaiman's trying to hang on and keep him out of it. But then, like, the devil Asu shows up and, like, cuts the guy's feet off real quick. So that they drop below and then get eaten by this demon hell thing.
This demon, like, vacuum, like, mouth. Yeah.
And he tells Kaiman that Nikaido is being held prisoner at En's place and he needs to go and save her. I think he even says, like, please, which is weird. So, of course, Kaiman all suits up and tries to leave. And they're trying to stop him for a while. And he's like action movie walking down the stairs way with all his knives and stuff. But then Tom was like, I was going to take the meat pie wagon to En's mansion tomorrow to, go there or whatever and, like, give him the food. And then, like, Kaiman just, like, walks up the stairs backwards.
He's like, oh, that sounds like a better plan.
He's like, that's much better than me just storming in through the front. And then, like, the other guy who can turn people into meat pies, he's like, yeah, there was a story of when En turned a whole city. The city was called Mastema into one giant fungal city.
Yeah.
When his magic got out of control, like, that's the extent of his, like, magic. Like, super powerful. And then there's a pretty funny scene with the Doc and Johnson. And Johnson's, like, talking to the cockroach. And he's like...
Oh, I know. He's like, did you make a friend?
I started laughing so fucking hard.
He's like, what's up? Did you make a friend, Johnson? I'm just like, what?
And then his cuffs unlock and Johnson's like, yay, shocking. And then the Doc's like, can you do that to the door? And he talks to the cockroach again. He's like, and he goes over and fucking unlocks the door. I was like, okay, that's a thing now. Cockroaches can pick locks in this show.
Well, gotta do something.
It was great. So En gets Chihayafuru to make a new mask for Nikaido. And Chihayafuru also recognizes her old mask as one made by Asu, and he's just kind of like, I thought he was keeping something from me, but I didn't think it was this. And finally, the reveal we have been contemplating for the last couple episodes. How do these contracts work? Basically, being forced to sign the contract means you can be controlled by the other person, and maybe vice versa. That also explains why there's two guys wanting to capture Noi and Shin, which we had no idea why. So basically, they could have forced them into slavery for the most part. And I'm suspicious that this new mask also plays into Kaido's sudden obedience.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Because she seems like so out of it, basically. But I guess maybe it allows him to more easily control her or something. I don't know. But
yeah. So the Doctor and Johnson make their escape and steal like Fujita's gun while he's moping about because he didn't get to sign his contract with Ibisu. And he's like telling Ibisu to transform. And she's like, where do I recognize you guys? And they're like, from the worms thing from the baseball games. And she like does like a little dance thing. She's like, Fujita has no friends. It was pretty funny. And then she transforms, but she's just like this tiny helpless lizard thing, and she's like, I didn't have enough smoke. But then like the Doctor and Johnson get stopped immediately by Noi and Shin, who just basically jump from the rooftops and take him out quickly.
Yeah, Shin like cuts off Kusakabe's hand or something. Like, yeah, damn.
Yeah.
Ended that real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm interested in this contract because, like, En seems really confident that Nikaido will never, like, control him, or even if she does, like, the contract would protect him. I guess maybe the contract stops you from harming each other. But at the same time, like, Nikaido could take him over and do something, I feel like. I feel like that's going to happen.
How did Noi and Shin benefit from it? I don't really know that. Does it, like, up their powers somehow?
I don't know if they really said. I don't know. Yeah.
No.
That's a good question. I don't know if they can tap into each other's powers. Like, probably not. I don't know.
Yeah, there's still like things we don't know about this. I think as the episodes go on, the slow drip of information is part of what makes this series really good.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we got a couple episodes left, so for them to tie it up. So I'm interested in seeing how that all plays out.
This show is the kind of show that would be really weird to watch while you're high or something. Because it's just, it's already an acid trip. I can't even imagine.
Not recommended. Oh, boy.
Yep.
All right. So while everybody goes and gets high, let's take a short break. And we'll be right back after these messages.
All right.
Cool.
Hey. Do you like wrestling?
Whether it be in a bar, an arena, some weird place in Asia, or in a stadium?
Or the occasional penisplex?
Well, if any of these things might tickle your fancy, anywhere in between from penises to wrestling, you can come and check out our podcast.
Our podcast name is Smack It Down. We talk all things WWE, New Japan, anything else in between.
I'm Jay Silver.
I'm Corey Gold.
And we look forward to you joining us.
Happy Rusev Day.
Happy Rusev Day indeed.
Hey dude, you into anime, manga, and all that radical stuff?
Oh yeah, man, it's tubular.
Then you should totally check out the...
This transmission has been hacked. If you want discussions, debate, reviews, and all in between, you must listen to the Anime Radicals Network at www.animeradicals.com. There's timely reviews, revolutions, mecha, and much more. Find it on iTunes, Google Podcasts, and all podcast catchers. The Anime Radicals Network.
The revolution will be simulcast.
Okay.
In the heat of the moment.
Yeah, we're back just in time for Kat to go into heat. It's fucking crazy over her house right now. Some Seton Academy, not wasting any time. Episode 10. That mysterious redhead for now meets with like the headmaster and asks if there are like human students here. And like, of course, his fish tank gets like broken and he's flopping on the floor. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The least most unfunny reoccurring joke in the show so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then we see Jin running away from like a pack of dogs with Ranka under his arm and like a duffel bag. And the dogs are like yelling like, "Love me, Ranka, love you so much." And it's because she's gone into heat.
Brace yourselves.
Jesus. This is when Bcom knew he loved this show.
No,
it wasn't Skunk Girl. It was like, Ranka Girl in heat.
I was like, where are they going with this? Oh, God.
The redhead's name is Anatina. Is that how we want to pronounce it?
I think it's Anatani. Yeah, Anatani.
Anatani.
Or they call her Anchan later.
An-chan. We'll just go
Yes.
with An-chan.
Yeah, An-chan sounds good.
She has joined the cooking club to observe. She also claims to be human, which I don't buy. And like, it's interesting how Hitomi reacts to it because she's like, another female human? I've never met another human girl before. And like, she blushes.
It's almost like, yeah, she has a crush on her at first. I thought that was weird too.
That Bcom went down the exact same fucking route.
Yep. Like, I was like, she's never met a female human before, and she seems to really like this one a lot. And I thought it would just be so funny if the show ends with Jin, like, getting just totally rejected by Hitomi when she realizes she's into girls.
Yeah, that would be kind of a justice thing. Like, listen.
So Jin manages to shake the dogs because An-chan like basically beat them all up. And like he runs to the storage sheds because somebody's like, hey, come in here, it's safe. And like inside he finds that fucking giraffe.
Oh my god.
God.
That giraffe
like,
that
"No."
wants to get
And
into
his
Jin's
sister,
pants.
His sister is like, do it, Nisha.
She's laying in like the
I
thing
know.
of balls. And she's like, do it, I want to watch.
I know, and I'm just like, what the fuck? You do not watch your brother have sex. Like, what is wrong with you? Oh man.
So, of course, Jin runs off again with Ranka, and they make it back to Ranka's room. And since he's been running around, he's fucking hot as shit, and he's sweating, so he takes his jacket off. And, like, so Ranka's in heat, and she's like, ooh, I want Jin now. And, like, jumps on him. Of course, he's bigger, so he just, like, fucking knocks her away. And he, like, tells her he hates her. He's like, I hate all animals, and I hate you. And she's, like, crying, so he just leaves her there crying.
Nice.
Yeah, because of course he can't handle real emotion, so he's like, I'm just gonna run away now. It's basically-
Yeah. So the cooking club cooks up like a whole, all the food they're going to cook for the festival for An-chan. And then like she just eats all of it very quickly, and she's like, that wasn't enough. And it's just like, you're not human, are you? Constant hints throughout the episode of that.
Mm-hmm.
And like Jin arrives, and he's glad to see another human. He's like, oh, hell yeah. And it's kind of funny because the other animals were like, we've never seen him react so nicely before. It's also shown that Jin's like kind of bothered by leaving Ranka crying like that. Like he's trying to be a heartless bastard, but it's like, you're not actually completely heartless, man. Come on. Mm-hmm. And he's also noting An-chan just staring at him a lot, which after the club, she follows him into the hallway, and she's like, I'm very interested in you. And he like takes this as a confession and like rejects her. He's like, I'm sorry, but he told me he's the only girl for me. And An-chan's like, I'm really pissed right now, and I feel like I just got rejected, even though that's not what she was going for. But Hitomi finds An-chan after like classes, and they take her to the hot spring and to basically bond and get to know each other because Hitomi really, really wants to be her friend. Of course, there's the boob comparison, which I stated. I think it was actually last episode that we recorded that. Like it always happens. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, An-chan passes out, but it's from hunger, not from the heat, like you would usually think. So Hitomi like invites her to her room, and like they chit chat, and they're like, "Well, we're in pajamas. You might as well stay the night with her." And she's like, He's like, "I just want to be." And An-chan asks her, she's like, why are you so nice to me? She's like, I just want to be friends. And as they lay down to sleep, An-chan's like, I need to understand this species more. But first, I will start with the boobs. And she starts like groping her boobs. And Hitomi's like,
Hitomi liked it, I think. Actually, no. Hitomi just like was like very surprised, actually. I think she was like, wait, what's happening?
Yeah, so Hitomi wakes up in the middle of the night, finds An-chan gone. But Ranka has also like found Jin's jacket lying on the floor. So she like first she jumps on it and like does that crazy weird girl thing where they grab something and they smell it and they roll over and roll over. Mm-hmm. You know,
yeah,
every girl does that. But then she eventually like puts it on and like goes outside and she smells meat cooking, and that's when she finds An-chan cooking like a bunch of meat over an open fire.
Comically large meat bone, like yeah.
Comically,
oh yeah,
yes.
like there's no way she could eat all of that meat. Like,
which I think like yeah, I think we'll get to it, but like I think they're basically hinting that she's some sort of like prehistoric human, like Like,
that's okay. Well, I'll save that for the end because that's what I'm thinking too. So like Ranka's like telling Anchan, and she's like, my boyfriend said he hated me, and then Anchan's like, you can't trust any humans. They're all liars. They're horrible people. You need to leave this person. Blah 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 blah. And then she's like, you know what? I'll ask Jin in the morning what is about me that he hates. And then she just like runs off. So it goes immediately to the next day, and Ranka asks Jin just that, and Jin's like, he's like, yeah, all humans are liars, and you shouldn't take everything we say, use me on par like that, because we're liars. And then like, they're like, what? And he told me he has to literally walk up to Ranka and goes, he wants to say he was kind of lying about hating you. And then she's like, yay, Jin, I love you. And then like Ranka sees Anchan outside. She jumps out and starts licking her. And she's like, thank you for giving me your advice. And it's like, you can join my pack too. Sigh.
Okay, so from the after credit scene.
Wait, there's still one thing that happens before after credits.
Oh, okay. Well, so I forgot if the meeting of the prehistoric animals was the after credit.
No, that was just before.
That was a little before, yeah.
So Anchan goes to Darwin Academy, and she goes to the Department of Extinct Species.
Yeah.
They have a goal to wipe out the human species. And Bcom did the research on all these creatures. So how about you tell us what these creatures are?
So one of them, which I liked, was named after Leo. It's called a Panthera leo.
What's that?
It's a subspecies of lion, which makes sense, but it's actually not entirely extinct. Like, it's extinct from certain parts of the world, but it still exists in a couple of regions. So that was interesting.
Oh, okay.
The others were one that's called like an Andrewsarchus, which is apparently there was a skull of it found in like Mongolia or somewhere in 1923, and it was like the largest known like terrestrial mammal carnivore. Because of like the size of its skull and what they could like tell from that. Then there's a baiji, I guess it's called, or I guess what are they called in the show? Like it's also known as like a Chinese river dolphin. They call it like a Lepotes vexillifer in the show or whatever. And so that's just like a dolphin type thing that used to be found in like the Yangtze River in China, and it's extinct. And then the last one is called Steller's sea cow, which was like this weird sea cow creature that was found in like 1741 by this guy named Georg Steller.
What, 1741?
Yeah. But like, it says within 27 years of discovery by Europeans, the slow-moving and easily caught mammal was hunted to extinction. So yeah.
Yeah, no.
And I think the last thing that was there was like a woolly mammoth, I think, in the background, but they didn't say if it was.
That was easy to. Yeah. That was the only one I did recognize because I was like, oh yeah, it's a woolly mammoth.
So like, just like you Bcom, made me wonder what Anchan is.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, we can keep her humans, so that would make her an extinct species. So I immediately think Neanderthal.
That's what I thought too, because I've heard a thing like in an article that Neanderthals eat like way more calories per pound than we did.
Yeah,
we do. So like that's part of the reason they went extinct, is because their calorie requirements are so much higher than ours.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, it makes sense. And like there were certain like species that like predated humans that like obviously came into contact with modern humans and were like, the way she feels like humans always lie and she was tricked by them, you could tell it's like one of those species that like the modern human brain was like way too much for them and like kick their asses basically.
So that's that. And then there's an after credits scene, which is like King and Impala are basically getting their own mini series. That's what's going down here.
Yeah.
So King is in the Impala tournament and nobody like wants to face him because they're like, you're a fucking lion, what the fuck? But the father will, but he loses like super quickly. Mm-hmm. And then King gives a bold romantic speech and the parents are finally like, fine, you can have my daughter. But then they're like, wait, what'd you want her for? He's like, oh, I wanted to copulate with her. And then like he literally gets double kicked out of the stadium by the mother and father.
Yeah, like what made him feel like that was going to work out well? I want to have sex with your daughter.
Because it would be normal for a lion thing, I guess. I don't know.
I guess maybe that might be why. But
so remember, lions will bang all day long in 15-minute intervals.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my god. Yeah, I'm glad he got kicked by those parents. He deserved it. Yeah, I'm interested to see the showdown between the extinct species and the fucking cooking club. It's gonna be pretty epic, I bet.
Yeah, only 2 more episodes.
It might be interesting.
Oh, don't tell me you haven't enjoyed this series, Kat.
I have as a whole. This particular episode was not amazing, but as a whole, the series
compared to the last episode, which was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it
Last
seems
one
like
really
it's just setting up for the final arc too. So,
yeah, this is a
true.
setup episode. Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. So
Cool.
yeah, make it better again. I'm excited to see what happens at least.
All right, let's talk about BOFURI, episode 10, defense and attack.
This was a good episode.
Oh yeah, I liked parts of it for sure. Like it was pretty fun.
I feel like it was entertaining, but nothing that much really happened at all.
Yeah,
There
it's
was
just like
very
these events.
slight plot progression. Yeah.
I could agree with that.
I like that it started off by showing that like Maple Tree are not the only guild that's really OP or has OP members, because like we finally get to see this guy Pain, who's been getting built up the entire show, in action, and he is like able to take out like 20 guilds orbs, just like, and he's like kicking ass without even using his magic or his skills. Like he's just destroying people. And it's like, yeah, he just basically tells his friend like the only guild he's worried about is Maple Tree. And like meanwhile Maple Tree has captured like 10 orbs, and they disappear after 3 hours, and so they score them, but they're only in 17th place still, because I guess the big guilds are like really hard to beat. Like they just have so many people, you know.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah,
And
they
so-
just have more people to gather orbs, I suppose.
Yeah, and so they're aiming to get into the top 10, and so Sally goes out on like a night run to try and collect a bunch of orbs from like the smaller guilds before they're sort of all knocked out of contention. And so Kanade also goes out to help. Like she uses this stashed spell that she has called Titan Arm that makes like a giant hand appear out of the air, and like she just like picks up the enemy orb from a distance and then uses this spell called Flare Excel to like just launch herself through the air like a cannon, basically, to get away. Meanwhile, while Maple and the Hammer Sisters like stay on defense, Kuromu, Iz, and Kasumi all like go out to preemptively attack the enemies who are gonna try to retrieve their own orbs from them. And Kuromu, like, he makes good use of like this dead or alive skill he got that gives him a 50% chance to stay alive when he reaches 0 hit points, and so he like just looks like a fucking revived zombie or something at some point, or like there's like a skull that pops out of him. Yeah,
A very
a
sketchy
really good
skill to
skill.
have.
yeah,
It's a very good skill, though, like a very beneficial thing.
it only works 50% of the time, but hey, that's 50% of the time. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also one of those skills you're like, you don't necessarily rely on it. It's just like when it happens, you're just like, thank God it worked. You know, there was like a skill the guys were telling me about in the other Call of Duties where like you could go down, and if like you've had like 3 other kills, then you could still like shoot. And the thing was, it happened so not randomly, it's just not so often that you were never prepared for it. When they went down, they could still shoot you. And you were just like, shit, every single time. And that's what that makes me think this skill about, yeah.
I guess in this kind of game, you would maybe realize it because like you feel like you are inhabiting that body because you're in like a full dive MMO. But like, yeah, in a normal game, you're just like, wait, what? What happened? Yeah, so Kasumi, she shows down against this guy named Split Sword Shin, who was, I guess, recruiting her to be in a guild with him before Maple snatched her up. And so he wants to like take her down. Like jumping forward to like where they finish their fight later in the episode, like he has a sword that splits into a bunch of different pieces. But like in order to just defeat him, she pulls off this cool move that like just changes her hair into white and then like allows her to teleport basically behind him and just like slice him through and kill him basically. Sally has like managed to capture 10 orbs, but she's getting really worn down and tired. And she winds up getting surrounded by Frederica and a bunch of her guild members. And she sends a message back to base, might die, sorry.
Yeah. She's like, no, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, and Frederica discovers that like Sally's special attacks don't have a cooldown like she expected. They're not special attacks at all. She tricked her. They're just her normal abilities.
She can just move that fast, yeah.
Yeah, but still, like, Sally's exhausted, and she's about to go down when Maple comes flying through the air in her angel form. And she also used Syrup to summon, like, a wall in front of them using, like, a skill called Bastion. And, like, that protects them from magical attacks. And then, like, she deploys her mech and just, like, rains down laser blasts from the sky on, like, Frederica's guild members. And so they're able to get out of there, basically.
Yeah, but really, I don't think she made the greatest decision because it just leaves, the girls on their own.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Frederica even messages Dread that, saying, like, hey, like, Maple's out of the base, Sally's out of the base. And so he goes in and attacks, and only May and Yui are there, and no one else. They're actually almost able to fend off Dread. Like, they do this cool move where they, like, throw a hammer to each other. Like, and almost get him, but he's just too fast for them. Like, they have no agility, and he's, like, the fastest guy ever. So, like, they're just screwed.
Yeah.
But luckily, they stall him long enough that Maple and Sally return just in time. And, like, she uses her Predator on him and, like, Syrup's Mother Nature, which he deserved because he threw a fucking dagger at Syrup, that son of a bitch. I got so angry when you, like, hit the little turtle.
How dare you! Not Syrup! Syrup is a pure and innocent soul!
As somebody who recently D&D roleplayed Maple with Syrup, like, if somebody attacked Syrup, I would be very upset.
Oh my gosh.
So I felt very
what
protected.
we're going to get together and buy Bcom a plushie of Syrup.
Oh,
is what I'm
my
hearing.
God. That'd be so good. I would love that.
We can use our government money for that.
Oh, yeah.
$1,200 check.
Our government money.
I'll get a life-sized, real, like, big Syrup.
Oh my God.
Put it in my living
We could
room.
put it over the top of, like, a cheap-ass Honda we find on Craigslist for, like, $500.
Just have you ride around. That's your
Just ride
cosplay.
around.
Yes. Oh, so good. Ghost Ride Syrup.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Meanwhile, like, between Sally and Kanade, they've managed to capture, like, 22 orbs. And if they can defend them for the next couple hours, they're going to, like, move up in rank by a lot. And as, like, Sally was going around, she mapped out, like, the locations of all the remaining guilds. And so they're like, all right, ready to commence Plan B, which is going to be Maple finally going on offense instead of staying back. And so they send Maple and the Hammer Girls out together, and they basically just, like, fly around to, like, a guild on the turtle and just, like, take their orb by force. But part of Sally's plan is to have them attack the top, like, the second-ranked guild, the Flame Emperors. And so they, like, land, and, like, one of the members of the Flame Emperors, Marcus, has set up all these traps, and he's like, well, let's see which ones work on Maple. And the answer to that is none of them.
None.
Like,
None of them work.
for the most part,
not with
they
the other two.
Yeah, exactly. Like, for the most part, they just explode, but then
They're
the
like
ones that
Kat and
don't.
her boyfriend out on their casual strolls lately. Just nothing stopping them.
They're just walking along. Everyone's like, we can't make him stop. Oh no.
I liked how, like, the girls just, like, hammered at anything that got in their way, like, remotely. They just, like, blew it apart.
Oh, I know. She'd like stop for a second with those roots or whatever. And then the girls would just be like, oh, and now they're gone. Carry on.
Hammer time.
Yeah.
And Marcus, the trap guy, is just like, fuck. And so, like, they tell, like, the rest of their, like, guild members who just look identical to each other to just, like, retreat. And then their leader, Me, or whatever her name is, shows up right at the end to help out. So, like, the episode ends with, like, the Flame Emperors, like, staring down Maple and the Hammer Girls. So we'll see what happens with that next episode. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty fun just to see everybody in action and, like, using all of their abilities. And, you know, it's just, like, a pretty standard MMO, like, capture the flag type event. But it was fun to see play out.
And I feel
actually
like
really enjoyed this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, Leo.
No, it was very enjoyable. Yeah,
like it was much. I actually was entertained the entire time. Not all of these, episodes of the show really do that for me. So I had fun with it.
That's good. I'm glad. Well, is it just because there was, like, constant action, basically, or?
I think it was a common. Like, there were different plots of action. It wasn't just like. And then, so and so hit so and so. That wasn't what interested me. It's just like the plots of they're trying to collect the orbs and they're trying to defend. And oh no, there's that's more. It's a little more logical and cerebral than like, oh, I hit you in the head. so sometimes it's a little more entertaining for me, you know?
Yeah, it's a little more strategic and everything. Yeah.
And I think the next episode is looking like it's going to be even more a lot like this. Just like a big battle, because I've seen like little pics of like what Maple's going to do next episode, but I can't wait to see it.
It should be fun.
Even though the synopsis for it will probably be fairly short, I think it'll be pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Should be interesting.
Speaking of the not interesting,
I like this episode a lot,
on.
actually.
It was a good episode.
I think this episode of Haikyu had like everything you kind of want in an episode of Haikyu. It had a match with like real stakes, and it also had a really good like character arc with Kiyoko.
the only reason this is a good episode is because Kiyoko had a lot of
I knew you would like that part.
screen service.
Yeah.
Well, that's incorrect, but there's a lot of good things about this episode.
Episode 10, Battle Lines. So all the guys are warming up at like a different location than the tournament, and apparently the matches are moving a little bit faster than was anticipated, so they need to hurry up and leave really quickly. Unfortunately, as they're waiting like the 4 minutes for the bus to show up, Hinata's shoes are in a bag and actually get mixed up with the little kid's bag because they look the exact same. So they get to the new complex. That's when they realize that happens, and they're like, shit. And then Tobio's like, hey, Hinata, where's your phone? He's like, it's in my bag. And then they're like, oh shit. So they call it, and then the mom picks up and she's like, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll wait here for you. But, you know, they're running short on time. So Kiyoko is like, you know, I'll run back and get the bag. And dude, Bcom, we were on the exact same thought wave.
Yeah, absolutely.
When we watched this, because dude, it was like 5 seconds into it, and I immediately started thinking about After the Rain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's
sense.
so similar to that story about how she got injured and how she watched the kids or like the teammates around her.
She watches her
move
old
on.
track mates run.
Yep.
And then she throws herself into being the manager of the volleyball team, just like Akira did with her waitressing job. It's just like, what the fuck is going on here?
Very similar story, yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought about it before, but you're right. There are a lot of similarities.
Yeah, it was. I was like, this is the short version of After the Rain. Wow. Except we don't know who her crush is, do we?
Yeah, I was going to say, so you're saying Kiyoko might like older men, huh? Interesting.
Wait, I haven't seen the other seasons. What is her, like, romance line?
Wait, are you... Oh, it's non-existent for the most part.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they try to keep her
Dedicated to
pure
her
as
work.
like the
Yeah.
mascot character. Like, oh, everyone on the team kind of wants to fuck her, but you know, we all can dream.
They all just she's like an unimpeachable pure idol of the volleyball team. Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So what's interesting about the gym they're playing in is it's basically set up for these tournaments like this. So it's like massive. And also the thing about being massive is like the ceilings are super, super high, and that's going to mess with their like sense of distance. So like setting up the shots, doing the serves, like just the sheer expanseness is just going to mess with them a little bit.
Well, but wouldn't it mess with the other team too? Because it was interesting. I agree. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
The other teams may have already had this experience previously.
Yeah, maybe they have more experience.
Like they played last year, so they've already had their adjustment period, so it's not a big deal. And also, I guess the floors are a little bit different. They're maybe harder, and like they won't be able to slide as well on them as the other floors. So that was interesting also. But Kiyoko makes it back with the shoes, and you can see like she is happy and like proud to be passing on the title of like team manager to Hitoka, because she worked really hard for it, and she would hate for like all that. Because I guess apparently when she first joined, they were just like a bunch of savage fucking animals, and she had to tame them.
She had to tame them all. Like,
I liked all that stuff about like, nobody told her what to do in this job, so she had to like pick up a lot of it herself. And now that she's done all that work, like she feels the need to pass that on to somebody. So it's not not somebody else has to do all the same stuff again, and then
Yeah, and it also kind of shows that she's a little bit proud to be able to pass it on to Hitoka. Like she like knows she'll eventually be able to do it. So the first match is against Tsubakihara Academy, and their strategy is like to break up Karasuno's attacks with their serves. And it's like very, very, very clear right away that Karasono is struggling with getting their bearings down in this very large gym. Just their worries earlier, yes, it totally happened. People they're just literally just whiffing the balls, just like Hinata at one point jumps up to spike a ball and just goes, just doesn't even touch the ball. And it's not even partially his fault. Like Tobio just like gave him like a terrible set because he's just trying to get his bearings down. And the whole team is kind of just waiting for him to get his shit straight, and then they know they'll be fine. And they're just like, doing their best to like hold the other team off until this happens.
I like how they portrayed that. Like he kind of sees like the whole court as like a grid in his mind. And at first the lines are like all like wavy and like moving around. Like he can't judge the distance of anything, basically. And then finally, when he gets it nailed in at the end of the episode, it's like a straight, perfect, aligned grid. And I was like, that's pretty good symbolism. I like that.
Yeah. So Tadashi is also having problems with his nerves. And he's been given advice to pick a spot in the gym as a reset point, which we talked about in the intro.
Yeah.
And basically, it's just anything in there. You can pick it like an X sign or a sign. And you just focus in on it and you let yourself calm down and refocus. And it basically pretty much works. And he gets 2 really good serves in, which fucks him up.
I was surprised by that too, because like he's been like sort of struggling with his serve throughout the practices leading up to this game. And so
the coach makes a point that he's like, all right, he's really starting to break through finally. He's really starting to figure it out.
I get like, he comes up big when it counts, I guess, because like in practice he's been all over the place. So good for him.
Yeah. So, and then right at the end, Tobio finally gets his bearings and it allows Hinata to get like a sweet ass spike on them. And then you see the Tsubaka Hiara people, you just see them all react like, uh-oh, they found their groove.
Oh yeah. Kageyama like turns around to the team. He's like, sorry for if I kept you waiting.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
It was. I did like that that Kageyama actually apologized for like having to adjust, and he was a little bit more humble with it.
Yeah, but then I like everybody else's reaction, maybe even more. They're like, we know what was going on. We were just waiting for you to finally get your bearings straight.
Yeah.
And then they're like, now we can kick their fucking ass.
Yeah. Yeah, so I thought this was a pretty well balanced episode with like all the stuff with like Kiyoko's arc sort of like coming to a completion in this tournament and passing it on to Yachi, and then like all of the practice sort of paying off or starting to pay off for like some of the guys as they get into real matches. I'm wondering, like, man, we're going to be in real matches for a while. Like, I also wonder where they're going to end this season, because it's like we have 3 episodes of this left to go, because there's 13 before the season ends, and like, yeah.
It just is a weird place to end it. Like, I don't know why they spaced it this way. It's just not ideal, because like, the first match is over maybe, and then we have to wait like a whole season to have it extended. Like,
yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll get a second match in after this one, after they finish the next episode. But I don't know.
I don't think I would. I almost wouldn't want them to, because it would be rushed.
It could be, but I feel like they could finish this match in one episode. Like, not that bad.
I guess I just don't want, because I like that season. Was it season 2 that was just the entire season was one game?
Yeah, well, that was a crazy game too.
Well, yeah, but like that was so intense and like, oh my god, and like, that's where Haikyu like has its best day, like its best glory, is that kind of thing, not short games. Like,
you can see like the team they're playing right now like is clearly gonna lose. Like, this isn't a team they're gonna lose against. Like,
I just want them to get to that, and they haven't given it to me all season, and I'm frustrated. And I'm like, no, I want this to be more.
Gotcha, yeah. But we're right on the brink of it now, it seems like, so that's nice at least.
Exactly.
All right. Speaking of being on the brink of
on the edge of glory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interspecies Reviewers.
Oh, yeah. So this is the one where they get to go to.
Please do the episode title, because I'd love, they're so fucking
God, it's so long.
No. It's obnoxious. Okay.
Well, at least do they'll squeeze it out of you.
They'll squeeze it out of you. So
infinite pleasure.
I don't know. So they're close to this ultimate brothel. And it looks like the Courier Guild wants to do a deal with this reviewer, these 3 reviewers, because it helps their business. More people are attracted to their guild the more they put those up.
Oh, the Centaur
and it's not
girls?
too much. Yeah, it's not too much work for them either. So it works out. That was a smart business deal, in my opinion, to make. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it spreads them like far and wide and stuff. Like, I think it makes sense, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting he thought of that.
Yeah.
And then they finally get to this place. It looks like a castle, rich as fuck.
It looked like Disney's Magic Kingdom to me.
Kind of.
And then they call it the Magic Metropolis or whatever.
The Disney of sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, but guess what? The Magic Metropolis is open right now. But Magical Kingdom is not.
Nice.
Poor Disney.
But yeah, all of the girls are in witch outfits, and they're all the same girl.
They're clones.
Yeah, so they're clones of this main witch, and that's how she's able to do all this, I guess, is she's a witch and she has, magic. And they live for 3 days, and then they just poof into air. There's not even anything to dispose of. They just disappear.
It's so weird.
That's creepy to me, because basically they're just like, oh, I'm just a sex slave, and in 3 days I die.
Yep.
I'll spend this entire 3 days.
Their big appeal is they will do anything and everything, like fucked up shit like dismemberment, torture, all the way to like whatever your desire is. And then like I like Stunk. He's like, okay, that's great. I can do all this stuff with her. But they're a 9, because I can kind of get this someplace else. And then when he wakes up and she's making breakfast and he's like, nope, that's a 10. And I was kind of like, you know what, Stunk? Fist bump.
I mean, it is
kind of there with you.
Hey, I've had moments in relationships where I come out and they're like the guy's making breakfast, and that's the moment where I'm like, yeah, no, this is gonna work out. So I get it too.
Good.
But yeah, no. So I thought the public sex rule was interesting. So apparently before they had this rule, they just fuck all over the place in public, and it was disturbing the regulars.
Yeah.
And so they're like, no, you have to have this rule in place.
You have to behind closed doors. And I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then like, it's just the level of stuff that you can do with these. I mean, no wonder everyone gives it a 10 out of 10. Like, they have people doing snuff porn. They have people like into scat. Because at one point, she's like, I can eat a meal with you. And don't worry, I can even add like gross smelling stuff and poop it out.
Yeah, it's like,
don't
what?
worry.
And he's like, people want that. She goes, more than you would think.
Yeah, I like that running joke of like them asking like, wait, people actually ask for that? And like, she's like, yeah, a lot of people do.
I know. It's interesting. But yeah, Krim enjoys it too. Like, she invites Krim into the tub and then is like almost half teasing him for a while. And then she just basically gets her big ass tits out and is like, I'm gonna massage you with soap with my tits.
Scrub your back with my titties.
Krim's like, there's a sponge right there. I can't hear you, Krim.
Oh man! And then Zell, I thought Zell's approach to it was even actually most interesting. Probably like he just uses it as study time. He's like, all of the spells she's taught me, it's amazing.
And this study environment is so good.
I know.
He's like, oh, break time. Let's get naked. Which is ingenious in a sense, because he's getting that high level training from like literally the world's like most knowledgeable witch.
Yeah, that's
so
pretty awesome, actually.
How would you pass this up?
Yeah, no, for sure. Krim talking about his broken halo was interesting.
See, so I talked about there being a plot starting, and this is the beginning of that.
You think so?
Well, I read the manga, so I'll just say yes.
Okay, but yeah, so she really wants to steal his halo. Basically, is the plot here, I think. But she feels like she can't.
She wants that power, basically, that same power. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I'm just trying to figure out why a angel's halo would give you power.
Well, Krim's sperm, just like him,
has halos.
Is like invulnerable to like everything except for like darkness and physical attacks.
Yeah.
But then like it can like lightning or like fire or ice, and like none of that works on him.
So
it makes him very close to being like invulnerable.
So yeah, she wants it so she can make like almost invincible armor and then sell it, I guess, is what she wants.
Pretty much.
She's gonna make armor out of semen. She's gonna make cum armor. She's gonna make cum armor. What is she gonna like lock him up in the tower and just like milk him all day to make cum armor? That's what you're telling me right now?
Yes.
Well, it goes more into the Halo, so but I can't say any more than that.
It's just weird. I don't know. They end up giving this place a perfect score. Honestly, I was bored by it. Like, I can see why you can do anything you want. It's very and in that way, like, ooh, it's any fantasy that you think about, you could get fulfilled. I get that, but just there's nothing. It doesn't have its own character, you know, because it's all just whatever you want, and that's not like fun to me. I don't know.
Like personally, I'm kind of with Leo, where like Stunk just like having just like a newlywed like experience. I was like, that sounds great to me. I don't get this other like weird shit with like mushroom girls and salamanders. Just that's like newlywed honeymoon sounds great.
Yep.
I mean, but yeah, I agree with Kat though that like in general this episode was like kind of average because it wasn't like so weird as like all the rest of the other ones. But it does sound like this brothel would be one of the most fun for me personally because you could just do whatever.
Oh, I definitely want to go and try it out. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have its own thing.
Yeah, the selling point is just like, you can have everything you want, which is kind of the Disney World selling point.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
I mean, hey, it's the Disney World effect.
But you're just stuck with the one model, though. That's it.
Yeah. It's like if every one of them was just goofy.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ. This sounds like a nightmare.
Let's do some dismemberment.
Oh, God.
You know what's fucking crazy? Because there's a movie called The Goofy Movie, and that means he fucked somebody.
Yeah.
Because he has a son named Max.
Oh, man. I once saw a cartoon where they basically play on that, and he's like, now listen, Max, your man fucks. Like,
oh, God.
Just imagine that coming out of a serious goofy face.
Yuck, your man fucks.
He killed me. I was like, no, you can't do this to me.
Oh, my God. I've never seen a Goofy movie. I still need to watch that. It seems really good. I haven't ever watched it.
It's been a while since I watched it. I had seen a ton a long time ago. I really liked it. There's a scene where they're like floating on their car down the river, and he uses the cigarette lighter to heat up a can of SpaghettiOs. And for whatever reason, that can of SpaghettiOs looks so fucking good to me. I don't know why.
Nice.
That's like what I take from that movie. And also that Max finds like a girlfriend, and she's oddly weird. It's like the first like animated girl I ever looked at, and I was like, she's kind of okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah.
And I hate the furry shit, so that's really weird.
That is odd. I don't know. Disney stuff like that is a whole other universe.
Indeed.
But
a magical universe.
Bcom's like, what? You didn't find Daisy Duck hot? What?
God.
He's like, oh, I really had it for her.
No, I like God, what's the girl Lola the rabbit from Space Jam? That's who I like.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Lola the rabbit.
Yeah. She's a cutie.
Okay.
Space Jam. I just watched that the other day on Netflix.
Oh, nice.
Oh, did you?
I watched that recently too, actually. Because
rewatched it. I mean,
our friends are like, "Oh, there's no basketball, there's no baseball. We need to watch some sports." You're like, Space Jam, let's do it.
Oh, see, I've been too busy watching that dumb Tiger King documentary thing.
God damn it! I've been watching some of that too. It is
I know.
that is a fucking
weird.
ride. That is a ride.
Weird. Oh my god, have you watched any of this yet, Bcom?
No, I've never even heard of this. No.
Oh, you need to go on Netflix and watch this.
Oh,
it will change your life.
It's called, was it Tiger King?
Murder,
Tiger
Mayhem,
King.
and Madness. Yeah.
And you know what? You know what to blame? Every single thing that's ever happened, do you know who to blame? Carol Baskin. It's her fucking fault.
It's all her fucking fault.
It's all Carol Baskin's fault.
Oh man.
Oh boy, I gotta watch this.
You need to watch it. Oh man.
Okay.
We're gonna have to
do not
talk about
drink.
it.
Do not get high before you watch it because
No.
you're gonna be, your brain's gonna be blown regardless.
Yeah. It's interesting. We should talk about that in the intro and the
Of another
Next
podcast.
week.
Okay. Yeah.
What you think about it? Yeah.
I'll watch an episode or two for sure.
Okay. All right. And for today, thanks for listening. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube to get updates on new podcasts or videos. You can also find our podcasts on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and Stitcher, and follow us on Twitter at Nerdom Another for updates as well. Come hang out on our Discord. We have fun. And with that, we will see you next time.
See ya.
Yep.
Bye.
Next time.